Alright, today we got the '06 Civic back, and the complaint today is that the passenger window, the front passenger window isn't working. So let's go check it out, see what's going on. Alright, let's go ahead and verify the complaint. Turn the key on. Let's see, that one works. Oh, make sure you don't have the lock button on. That one back there works. That one over there works. And yep, that passenger front one, the right front, definitely doesn't work. Let's try it over here. Nope, doesn't work over there. Yep, I think we got a problem. Alright, before we go to the vehicle, we'll do a quick overview of the power window systems. These newer systems have gotten pretty complicated, so I just drew a kind of a simplified diagram. This is not how it really looks, but this is kind of just the flow so you can understand if you're going to troubleshoot it at home. Basically, you got 12 volts going into the driver's fuse box. This driver's fuse box is right next to the driver's leg inside the under the dash, inside the cab. It also has a multiplex control unit attached to it, and that multiplex control unit controls this relay. So if that control unit goes bad, you can definitely have problems with your power windows. But there's a relay in there, and then there's 4 fuses, 4 20 amp fuses. Each one of those fuses goes to one of the windows. So if you have one window not working and you go and try to do power and ground checks and you don't have power, it may just simply be a problem with the fuse there. And then from that fuse box, the signals are sent over to the driver's master switch, which is basically a control module. It's like a small little computer, and that's where your controls are on your on the driver's side, right where the switch is. That's a control module, and so all the controls are done there. And so from there, it goes to each one of the motors. So obviously the switch is part of the control module on the left front motor, which is the driver motor, and then the right front motor, it goes to a switch and then goes to the motor, and then same thing with the left rear and the right rear. They both go to the switch and then the motor. So that's kind of the flow, how it goes. And it's much easier, instead of trying to troubleshoot everything, it's much easier. Let's just go right to the switch and we'll check for power and ground on the 2 wires that go to the motor. That's the easiest way I found to do it. And on this vehicle, we can simply pop the switch out and look for those wires right on the switch. And if you happen to be doing one of the other windows, I do have them marked. So the left front window is yellow and green. The right front, which is the one we're working on, is blue and red. The left rear is going to be yellow and brown, and then the right rear is going to be white and blue. So in case you need to troubleshoot it, hopefully those wires will help you. And then over here we'll talk about a kind of a close-up of how the switch actually interacts with the motor. And you kind of need to know this if you're going to troubleshoot them. And in this case, the 2 wires, in our case we're doing the right front, which is a blue and a red. And in this case, both of those wires are normally, when the switch is not pressed down or up, those 2 wires are grounded. So they're always going to have a ground. So when you do your checks, you want to see 2 grounds on there when you're not pressing the switch. And then when you do press the switch, what the switch internally does is it pulls the ground off one side and applies power to it. And what that does is it completes the circuit and the window will spin one way. And then when you press the switch the other way, it does the same thing to the other wire. It pulls the ground off that wire and applies power to that wire. And that'll make the window spin the other way. So hopefully that'll help when you're doing your checks to know how the system works. It's pretty simple. You either send power one way and it's grounded on the other wire and the motor spins one way, or you send power the other way and it's grounded on the second wire and it spins the opposite way. And that's how these window systems work, and that's true for most of these Honda systems. They're the same. Alright, I'm going to use a power probe 4 to do the checks on the vehicle for this window regulator. But you can just as easily do power and ground checks with a multimeter or even a test light. Right here I will show you how the switch works and how you can test it with a multimeter, just so you know what I'm doing on the car. So obviously make sure you get your voltmeter to volts, and then in the resting position This is your switch and this is the motor. At rest, both of these lines or wires are going to be grounded. So you can check just by taking one lead, find a good body ground, take your other lead, check one wire, you should have 0, check the other wire, you should have 0. And then you know that your ground checks should be good. I mean, that's not a perfect test because it's an unloaded circuit, but that's a good way to start. And then, now I don't know if this wire will be 12 or this wire will be 12, but when you push the button down, one of these wires will be 12 volts. See how both of them are grounded here? Well, when you push it down, it removes one of the grounds and replaces it with power. So in order to check it, do the same thing. Make sure you're on voltage. Go to a good ground, test one wire and you should have 12 volts. Test the other wire, you should have 0. Now it could be vice versa, but one of them is going to have battery voltage and the other one is going to have 0. And then the same thing, when you go up, it should be the reverse of this. And so you can see I have it drawn in reverse. The ground is removed from one side and replaced with power. So you do the same thing. Take your lead, go to one wire, it should be 0, the other one should be 12. It should be whatever the opposite of the button when you pushed it down. And that's how easy it is. And I'll show you how I'm going to do it with a power probe on the vehicle. Alright, and over here at the passenger door, we'll just take a screwdriver, stick it right in this, there's a slot right here, just pop it out. And it moves forward, so just try not to break it. And then right here, we'll look for our, well, that's pretty easy. Our blue and red ones are the first ones right there. Those first two right there are our blue and reds. Let's see, use this one. Just going to use a power probe just to check for power and grounds right here. You can see right there, got a good ground. On the blue one, let's look at the red. Also have a good ground right there too. Let me turn that tone off. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we see we got voltage right there. Let's go ahead and try the window. Oh, helps if you put the key on. Alright, we'll try the window, press it down. That came off ground. Shouldn't do that. Came up to about 1.72. Let's try the other way. And drop to, or it went to 10.59. Our battery voltage is, you can see it's 11.9, so that's way below battery voltage. And yet we have a good ground, so that's interesting. Let's try the other switch, the driver's one. Up, it goes to about 0.43. Whoops. We try the right one. Up, going to 9.9. Down, 1.6765. Looks the same. That does tell us one thing. It tells us our switches are good. And looks like all our wiring is probably good. We need to find out why we have those voltage drops. Most likely the motor is bad, but we need to make sure it's not a wiring issue. And so now we'll have to go right to the motor itself and check it right there. All right, in order to get to the door panel, we're going to have to take this, or in order to get to the motor, we'll have to take the door panel off. So just unplug the switch, take the screw out right here with the correct screwdriver. With a pocket screwdriver, pop the plastic cover off. Come on. Alright, pop the plastic cover on. And then from there we can get to the screws in here. There's one, there's a clip, you just have to press the button in. The other one's a screw. I showed in detail how to take these door panels off in my speaker installation video, so if you really want to get in detail how to take these off, look at that. All you got to do, just tug it once you get these screws off. You can just set it like that. You can disconnect them if you want, but I found you don't have to. Most of the time, you can just lift around this like that, and usually, if it's not too nasty or too old, you can peel these back. Be careful because this stuff can get nasty. Alright, there's our window regulator right there. And we'll just leave it like that. Alright, so here's the plug. We'll just disconnect it. And you can see there's only 2 wires. It looks like a big old plug, but there's only 2 wires right there, our red and our blue. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug this switch back in. And I'll probe this red and blue wire again. Alright, as you can see, we got battery, we got good ground right there. We'll see what happens now that it's unplugged, what happens. Goes all the way to 12 volts. And you push it up or pull it up, it stays on ground. So that means that's good right there. It doesn't mean we don't have a problem somewhere else in the system, but because there's no load on this right now. Once we disconnected the motor, we disconnected the load, but you can see once again 0.02, press it down, stays on 0.02, and press it up, goes to 12.01. So it looks like our switches, everything is working properly. Actually, let me test the other one. Down, stays on ground 0.02 I should say, and up 12. Looks to me like our switches and everything, power, everything is working properly. It looks like the problem, wow, that thing is hot, hotter than hell. I think we found our problem. It's that motor right there. It must be screwed up internally, and that's why it's there's a huge voltage drop when we're testing it. The last test that we can do to find out if this is if this motor is bad, which I'm like 99% sure it's bad, is we'll just put power and ground right to that motor. We'll use the power probe and we'll see what happens. Alright, I hooked the power probe up. I just have power and ground going right to the motor. So we got everything bypassed. So you can see I have the tip, which is 12 volts, coming from the battery going into one side, one wire, and then I have it grounded right there going to another one. I just have a couple of jumper wires there. And so as you can see, we got ground right now, and then we'll go ahead and when I hit the rocker button, it'll supply 12 volts to this line right here, and the motor should move if it's good, one way or the other. You can see it drops to 9. Even though our battery shows 12, you can see it dropped to 9.9. So the problem is definitely in our motor. Let's go ahead and we'll swap these lines so we can go the other direction. All we got to do is flip them around. We'll do the same thing. Give it power. It's doing the same thing. 10.1, even though our battery voltage is way up. I can hear it clicking in there and it's not doing anything, obviously. Give it the old screwdriver tune-up. No, nothing. Turn it around, we'll try one more time. Now that we beat on it a little bit, but I'm positive this motor's dead, that's why I don't mind beating on it. Oh, look, got it to work. There you go. So now you know that was the problem right there. So there you go. If you're in the gym, you can always beat on the motor, see if it makes it work again. See if it goes up by switching it the other way. Yep, there we go. Now look at the voltage going to 11 when it's working. There's something internally screwed up in that motor, and that's what the problem was. So as you can see, boom, all the way up. So now it's working. Hey, good, cool, we're done. Just kidding, we're gonna have to fix it. Let me turn it around. We gotta get the motor down. Or we gotta get the window down enough so we can get to the now it doesn't work anymore. No, that was it. It's done. Clicking a lot louder now. Alright, I'm convinced. Needs a new window regulator, the motor's bad. Alright, but this is actually good. You get to see, okay, now what do you do? The window's stuck up, the bolts are up here, what do you do? I'll show you what we do about that. Alright, so what do you do when the bolts are up here and you can't get them out? Had this happen quite a few times on these Hondas. We need to hold the glass, and we need to cut this upper wire right here so we can drop it. So you need some side cutters right here. Make sure you know your motor's bad before you start cutting stuff, but if you can't move it like we showed, it's bad. But hold on to the window, don't drop it. And then just reach in here, cut the wire. See, now the window comes down. See that? We can put it where we need. I'd say about right there. Now if you can see, we got access to both bolts. 10mm bolts. There's one. There's two. And then, man, if you don't have a set of these, Lyle, I mean, this is the best thing since sliced bread if you do windows. Pull it up. Stick it on, boom, done. Otherwise, you're gonna have to use tape. Oh, can you see that? These things are awesome for doing windows. There, now it's held up. If you don't have something like this, then you're gonna have to tape the window up, or you can turn it and take it out, but that's more work. It's up to you. When you do this stuff all the time, you try to find the easiest ways to do it. This is the product right there if you want to buy it. I think it was $10 on Amazon. Best $10 I ever spent. Alright, one of those bolts dropped back in there. I just had to reach down and grab it. Alright, so those are the two bolts that look like that. Those hold the window on. And then we got 4 bolts right here. 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. We need to take those off. Actually, we only need to loosen these because you can see they're keyed. And hold on to it. then we gotta take you get the right tool, and with a nice pair of long needle nose pliers, squeeze the back, pull that connector out. I think that's the only one. Yeah, just one connector right there, and that's it. Yeah, not much to it. Just remember, it went like that. And you can see, you just had to cut that cable, and this motor, man, is it hot. So, yeah, we know what the problem was. You saw by beating on it, we fixed it. That's a good test to know if on an electric motor. Just tap on it with a screwdriver handle, and that'll usually let you know if it's working or not, because a lot of times it'll come back to life. Alright, well, let's get a new one. Put it in. Alright, here's a shot of the window regulator off the car. You might not have been able to tell what I had to do to cut it to get the window to drop down, but I just reached through the top here, and the cable, you can see the cable on the bottom here. Normally it would be right here, and I just reached through and cut it with my side cutters. You can see on the other side right here, here's where the cable wraps around right here for the motor and comes up to the top there. So you can see I just reached through, just snipped that cable right off, and that allowed me to move the window wherever I needed to so I could take the bolts out. So you might find yourself in that same position where you have to do that. Alright, in this case we went with an aftermarket one because the Honda one was way too much money. So there's the Dorman. This one's a Dorman product. There's the number for this vehicle, for this front passenger motor, 748-477. I've had decent luck with these Dorman aftermarket window regulators. Especially the ones that are made in Taiwan, like this one is. They seem to be decent quality. So let's go ahead and get it put in. Alright, just take the bolts from the old one, thread in the top one up here, thread in the bottom one over here, and then just slide it back in. Let's see, can you see it? Just slide it back in and just get the bolts come through the holes right there and right there, and then that one and this one down here should line up. Take our other bolts, thread those in. Come on. That one wanted to be difficult. Alright, and just remember this, that clips back right there. Just go ahead and tighten them up. There we go, tight. And now you can see the window's already basically where it should be right there. So we'll just go ahead and lower the window back down, put it where it's supposed to go. I may have to maneuver it slightly, but there, now they're lined up, ready to go. And Honda recommends that the glass be pushed to the back. before you tighten them down. There, just remember, patience. Alright, key on. Let's check the operation. Make sure nothing's in the way. Oh, let's plug it in too. That always helps. Up, down, up, down. There we go. Yeah, not even hot. See, the other one was certainly bad. Push this all the way up. Go all the way down, make sure we got complete operation. Alright, we do. Let's unplug this. Let's get it put back together. Alright, you should be able to just stick this film right back on where it was. Be careful, try not to get this stuff everywhere. But you should be able to see about where it went. Make sure you pull the wire back. On this, it's easy to push out from like that. It's a pain to get out if you can't get to the back there. It just, there, you can put it back like that. There we go. Now we can just set the door back up on here. Just make sure to snake that back up. This plug right here just sits on there and press down. Just like that. If you did it right, this screw right here and those line up perfectly. Alright, put the screws back. There's one. Put that piece in and then put the center piece in. Make it flush. Put your trim piece back in. Make sure to plug it back in. Should still work. Alright, we're good. Alright, just make sure this piece has to hook in right there. A lot of times this front piece especially, that piece doesn't want to go in the back corner. And then you got the hook right there that goes under the front. And each one of these goes in there. You just got to make sure they all clip into place. Then it snaps in, then you're good. As you can see, it's not too difficult as long as you know what you're doing, what to look for. So I hope this video helped. If it did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.